What's up, guys? Mr. Music Fan here. How you guys doing? So while we're still in the year of 2013, because I really want to get the same anger sometime this year, let's continue with the Metallica discography review with Metallica's 1997 album ReLoad. Yeah! Released in 1990. Yeah, I said the year already. Anyway, released 18 months after the last album, Load. So going into with the ReLoad, as the title implies, this is simply a continuation of the band's last album, because essentially the original concept for Load and ReLoad was going to be a double album packed with the songs, but upon touring and upon writing the songs for ReLoad, they couldn't make enough material to make a double album, so they had to release both these albums separately, and also for the sake of the listener, so that they wouldn't get so bogged down by so many songs to the point that they would not choose which of the songs they would want to listen to the most. So they went ahead with a single album released months apart approach. And the sound of ReLoad, again as implied, is not that much different from Load. This follows the band's continued experimentation with becoming more musically fluid, with becoming very less tense with thrash metal, speed metal, and becoming more open and looser, and more experimenting with the Southern American country-esque metal of the Load album. This is like their experimental period. However, what is different with this album is that Metallica makes little bits and tweaks with the songs off of here. Like examples are Fuel, which is a much harsher, much more menacing, more ripping of an opener. It's kind of like the equivalent of having a big, gigantic monster truck crash through your wall and crushing everything in its path. And that's what this song feels like. It is such a rocker. It is such a song. And it makes an even bigger impression, a bigger feel of what the album will be like than what the first song off the previous album did. It's a good song, but doesn't hold a candle to Fuel, in my opinion. And also songs like Carpe Diem Baby, which I really enjoy, that guitar backdrop that they do before the chorus, which I never really caught my attention before until I listened to it more intimately. There stuff like that, things like that creates this slightly more immediate feel with this album than with Load. Still in the vein of the last album, but really makes this album a much more digestible album to listen to than with Load. Again, in my opinion. Favorite song here for me would happen to be "The Memory Remains." Quite simply because because of its association with the music video. When I was a kid, this was my first ever exposure to Metallica, with the video for "Memory Remains," and at the time, because I was into a little bit more pop orientated stuff at that time, I was into NSYNC and Backstreet Boys at that time. But this song introduced me to the whole metal genre, and basically more or less Metallica. And at the time, I thought that this was like the most heaviest thing I have ever heard, at least until I discovered the Black Album and then their other 80s thrash metal music. But this was my first ever exposure to much more harsher music at the time than the music that I know now. And you also have the very unique thing about this song of the very legendary vocalist Marianne Faithfull. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. That catchy but very haunting vocal, that very ghostly vocal with that song, like, and of course when this song is performed live, it really gets the audience involved and they sing along with this song, which is a really great anthemic moment for Metallica. And so for sentimental reasons, I really enjoy this song. I really love this song, and without this song I would not have known Metallica or any other harsher music, heavy metal music, because of it. Least favorite song for me would have to be the song Attitude, and just basically that it's just because for me it just seems to be like such a filler track off this record. Some of these other songs like Prince Charming, Bad Seed, and Slither, for example, like, while they're not the worst songs Metallica has ever made, these songs really don't seem to add up much to me. Like, I mean, I do enjoy some of them, but some of them at times I feel were kind of like songs that the band decided to put on the album just to fill up time, just to fill up disc space. But Attitude for me is the song that matches that description for me. And I really don't care about that song. It never grasped my interest particularly. Songs of special mention for me, one has to be Better Than You. It's a really awesome, really rocking, driving type of song. Lyrically, it's about owning up to your rival and being better than your rival. Something I think we all can relate to at some point in our lives. Another very unique song would have to be Low Man's Lyric, because this is one of very few instances from Metallica that we get a song about homelessness. And we don't get that many Metallica songs about homelessness, but along with this very mournful sounding organ that accompanies this song, you really get a very almost depressing, dark, but very honest and real character with this song. And it's not amongst my favorite Metallica songs, but it is a special mention because it is very unique in their discography. Speaking of which, I left out the lyrical contribution to this album. This album lyrics aren't really that different from the past album, but like I said, a song like Low Man's Lyric really lends a more lyrical variety to this album. But again, not much has changed. I think, like the music, there is a bit of an anthemic quality to these songs, like Memory Remains and Carpe Diem Baby. But other than that, not much difference with these songs. Anyway, time for the 4-point grading system. You guys know what that means. My grading system for an album release. So first point, music originality. I would have to put this a notch or so higher, around 3.5, and is definitely a slightly more original album than Load, in my opinion. Mostly because songs like Memory Remains and Carpe Diem Baby and Better Than You really add a more immediate feel with most of the songs of this album in comparison to Load. Again, my opinion. But not much has changed from the past album, but either way, it still gets the notch or so higher of 3.5 out of 5. Songwriting, the lyrical input, again, has to be a notch or so higher, above 3.5, like around 3.5. Again, not much different from the past album, but there is a more unique quality with the lyrics, especially with Low Man's Lyric. So that gets a 3.5. Likability, I have been listening to this album a little more in recent weeks than I have with Load. And it's the reason why that is that, like, now that I've taken a little more time to listen to the album more properly, I've come to enjoy songs that I used to ignore previously, like songs like Better Than You, Carpe Diem Baby, Fixer also is another good song. Um, and yeah, like I mean, this like I the majority of this album I listen to way more than Load. But of course, that's not really saying much because this is not an album that I listen to a lot as a package. So it gets like a 3.5 out of 5 for the likability. And as for ReLoad as a package, um, same thing, 3.5 out of 5. I would place this album a notch higher than Load for me, but a notch or so lower than the Black Album. Again, my own personal view. Um, and it's not amongst Metallica's best albums that they've released in their discography, but for me personally, and like amongst their '90s work, it is among their best. Like again, like a notch or so below the Black Album, for me personally. But still a really good Metallica album. They really do a little bit more better the whole southern rock country metal experimentation. They're loosening up themselves off this album, and they do a pretty good job at doing that. So 3.5 out of 5 for ReLoad. Yeah. So leave some comments around the comment section below. Do you love Load? Do you love ReLoad? Do you hate it? Why? And of course, rate, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy watching my reviews. My subscribers have been getting a jump lately, which is really awesome. It's really cool, But of course, as I've realized in the last couple of videos, that I still have a long way to go in being a better, articulate reviewer of my reviews. And something quickly that I want to mention before I go. And it's the fact that I have a YouTube user who commented on my Hybrid Theory EP review, and I have a tendency of repeating things, of repeating words or phrases, and to the point of becoming redundant. And I used to do that in my earlier reviews just to kind of emphasize a certain point, but with watching my other videos, I've noticed that is become very redundant. So in certain aspects, I do want to expand my vocabulary. I'm looking to expand my vocabulary. Again, I'm repeating. Expanding my wordly horizons, per se. And, so that way I become more articulate in speaking here in front of a camera. It is true I have matured in leaps and bounds over the past year. But I realize I still have a long ways to go, but that's the important thing with you guys, that you lend me the feedback and tell me how I'm doing with reviewing. But other than that, like, I'm still trying to improve and still trying to get more comfortable with speaking in front of a camera. But pretty much it. Anyways, what am I gonna? Do I have anything else to say? No, pretty much it. So anyways, this has been Metallica, ReLoad, Mr. Music Fan. Hope you guys take care of yourselves and have a great night. Take care, guys.